I can't even tear it. It's so strong. I didn't even know I needed this thing, but it's so handy. Should you really spend $30 on the Boltster bolt organizer? I'm going to tell you right now. Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Chris. This is Dirty Trucker 08. And before we get started, I have a disclaimer. Boltster reached out to me on Instagram, said they'd like for me to go ahead and review their product. So that's what I'm going to do. But as you know, I'm not just going to blow a lot of smoke up somebody's... I'm here to tell it like it is. So this little Boltster tool organizer, bolt organizer, nut organizer, it's going to run you about 30 bucks. It's 10 inches square and almost a ½ inch thick. It's flexible. It bends. It squishes. It's stretchy. You can grab a corner. You can actually stick your fingers through it and pull it really hard. And it comes back. It's kind of nice to touch. If you squish on it, it's comfy. Now, I'm willing to bet if you tried to sleep on this thing, you'd end up with prints all over your face. If you just don't do that. But what is this thing for, and is it worth the money? Well, according to Boltster, it'll hold anything from a 6mm all the way up through a 17mm bolt. Now, I just happen to have a quarter here, and I don't know how close a quarter is to a 6mm. I'm not metric. If you're dealing with quarter stuff, as long as you sit it flat, it'll stand up. But it's definitely not sucked in there. So realistically, if you're working with smaller stuff, this isn't the product for you. However, when you start working with a little bit bigger items, bigger bolts, hopefully that's focused, and you poke it in, it holds, and it's not going anywhere no matter what you do. Alright, so realistically that is probably on the bottom side of what you would put in there. So with this little organizer tool, you can take your bolts and you can just poke them in. You can set it back down. You can poke them through and it'll sit there and hold it. If you're working on whatever you're working on, you can put your bolts through. If you've got a pattern that you need to keep arranged, say you're working on a water pump, or water pump. Say you're working on a water pump or an intake manifold or whatever it happened to be, and you take your bolts and you put them on there in whatever pattern they came off in. We'll say that that was a bolt that happened to go there, and this thing was a half and a bolt that needed to go there. You can sit there and put your stuff into it, and it's all organized exactly the way you put it on there. So whenever you take it apart, you can put them in the same pattern, and then you can put it back together the same way. Keeps you straight. Now, I've watched a couple other reviews on this thing, and people have put fire to it. They've put chemicals all over it. It says on the website that it's flame resistant and it's chemical resistant. If you want to watch somebody burn it, go watch somebody else's review. I'm not that guy. What I am going to tell you is my organizing skills typically aren't great. If you're like me, your garage is kind of a mess. I like to get too many projects going at the same time. And I can really see how something like this would help keep me straight. Normally, I'm taking bolts out and I'm sitting them on a piece of cardboard and I'm writing beside it what they are to kind of keep the brain going. With this, you can write on it. You could take your Sharpie and just doodle all over the thing. But being able to put your bolts into something that's going to keep them, so if you kick it or if you drop it, they're going to stay there for the most part, I think would be a good thing. Now, is it really worth 30 bucks? That's your call. Now, for me, I would say probably so. Having the option of, keeping my stuff organized, poking it through, it's gonna hold it exactly wherever I left it. I think that's a good thing. 30 bucks isn't a lot of money. It is an American-made product, made in Tennessee. And for not a lot of money, you've got something that will help keep you on track and help your projects get done a little bit easier. Because how many times have you lost that one bolt and you're just not sure where it went? This would help save you from having to make that last minute run to the parts store to pick up an extra bolt. Now, where can you get one for yourself, you may ask? They do have a website, boltster.com, or you can find them on Amazon for, I think it was $31 and some change. But it's not all rainbows and sunshine. When you're working with a product like this that's meant to be universal for a certain size range, it's only going to work in certain sizes. So if you're a watchmaker, this is not the organizer for you. If you're working with stuff that's mostly 1/4 inch or smaller, also not the organizer for you. 1/4 inch stuff will go in. So if you're just sitting it there and it's not going to do anything, that's fine. Or if you've got the nut to put on the back of it, so it holds it in, it'll work for that. But if you're working with the smaller size bolts and you know this thing's going to be getting bumped and moved around and it might actually fall off the side of the car, it might not be for you. But for most jobs where you're working on, decent sized stuff, like I said, this thing is supposed to go all the way up to 17 millimeters per hole, which is massive for something that starts out so small. It's the size of my head. And there you go, just a few of my thoughts on the Boltster bolt organizer. I'll put a link below to their website, or you can just get on Amazon, put in Boltster, 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 into Amazon, find one for yourself if you think this would be something that would work for you. Hopefully my thoughts have helped you just a little bit, but I will see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.